Alrighty. Looks like I'm live. Let me just double check here, make sure I can see myself. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna give people a few minutes to get on here. There was a huge response to this. We're gonna talk about my favorite topic, leaky gut. I'm going to go ahead and tag a few people here. If you're here with me live, say hello. Let me know in the comments too, like what you want to learn, during this. And if you're struggling with leaky gut or you think you may have leaky gut, let me know what kind of symptoms are you dealing with, and I can kind of, gear this towards that. And I do have some slides and stuff for you guys. And when we're done here, I really want you to have like a clear picture on like the steps that you need to take in order to heal your leaky gut. I did it. It was not always a fun process. But I'm telling you, like, it's so much better. I mean, like, I was struggling with so many different issues, poor digestion, IBS symptoms, multiple food sensitivities. I had, frequent BV. I had all of these, issues, horrible cystic acne all over my face, where I was super embarrassed to even go out anywhere without makeup on. It was not a pleasant experience. So, if you're out there struggling with stuff like this, just let me know. Inflammation, hips and back. Yeah. Oh, I was just tagging you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started because there are way too many people for me to tag, but I tagged a few. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try to keep track here on my phone. So if you guys have questions, hey, Tracy, hello. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Let me find what window I need here. And oops. Okay, so let me make sure. Okay, we can see my screen. I think we're good. All right, so there are 5 steps to relieving your digestive issues. Hopefully I can get my dog to not bark. Sorry if they do. So starting off, just disclaimer, this is not intended to be medical advice. The information I'm talking about is not intended to be used to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate any disease. Before trying any new diet or supplement protocol, please seek the advice of your healthcare provider, whoever that may be. I always recommend going through these protocols with someone who knows what they're doing, whether that's, a nutritionist, a functional medicine doctor, a holistic practitioner, whoever that is for you. I obviously recommend steering clear of like Western medicine practitioners, just because they don't really even acknowledge leaky gut as a thing. And they'll just tell you have IBS, and they'll, give you fiber supplement or something, and, tell you to eat more veggies or whatever, and then they'll send you on your way. So, make sure that you investigate who you decide to work with in this process. And instead of going at it alone. All right, so what we're going to cover is, so we're going to talk about what is leaky gut, what causes leaky gut, symptoms of leaky gut, some unexpected symptoms of leaky gut. Then we're going to go into how to repair this, and that is using the 5R protocol, which is remove, replace, reinoculate, repair, and rebalance. So all right, so leaky gut basically occurs when the tight junctions of the gut lining, they begin to pull apart, and they become more like loose junctions. And really these tight junctions, they are designed to only allow vitamins and other important nutrients through into the bloodstream. But when these junctions pull apart, they allow large food molecules and other particles and toxins into the bloodstream. So then what happens, because this is happening in our gut, and we know that a majority of our immune system resides in our gut, the immune system begins to go into overdrive, right? It's got all these like particles floating around in the blood that aren't supposed to be there. This leads to digestive issues like IBS symptoms, food allergies and sensitivities, because these protein molecules are getting into the blood, right? The immune system, has a response to that. Then this makes you sensitive to that food. So every time you eat that food, your immune system's like, oh my goodness. So this is what happens a lot of time with like gluten, the protein found in wheat and other grains, casein, egg whites, corn and soy are often big contributors to this as well. So you end up with multiple food sensitivities, which is not ideal. I remember being there. It's not a fun place to be. And then it can cause a whole cascade of other health complications outside of digestion. Eventually, if you don't repair this leads to autoimmunity, and that manifests differently for different people. This could be RA, this could be lupus, celiac disease, any other Hashimoto's, whatever the autoimmune condition. This all starts with gut health. So we really have to make sure that our gut is healthy. So leaky gut or intestinal permeability, it's a pretty common issue with our Western diets, chronic stress and toxin exposure. It's estimated that about 80% of people have some degree of leaky gut. So there's a spectrum with that, right? Like, so some people might just like have, some occasional issues, maybe a little bit of gas, bloating, some diarrhea every once in a while because they eat certain foods or something. And then you have the other side of the spectrum where people are just absolutely miserable. They react to all the foods they consume pretty much. They can't get digestive relief. They end up with all kinds of other symptoms and then eventually autoimmune disease. So what are the causes of leaky gut? So poor diet, high in refined grains and bad fats, that definitely can lead to leaky gut. Certain medications such as NSAIDs, birth control, antibiotics. Birth control is a big factor. Antibiotics are a big factor because not only do they kill the good bugs, or the bad bugs, they kill the good bugs as well. So that was kind of what started my health issues, was being on birth control and it causing a host of other problems. And then they kept prescribing me antibiotics to deal with things. And then my skin started breaking out. I started reacting to all these foods. So then I kept getting more antibiotics, making my gut health worse, making everything worse. And there really wasn't a solution that Western medicine offered me to help fix this problem. Even though I went to my doctors, I went to my OB, I'm like, hey, is my birth control causing this? Oh no, so, making sure that you're avoiding the medications that can really lead to all of these symptoms is super important. Stress is a huge factor. When we are stressed out, whether that is physiological stress from not eating balanced meals and having blood sugar spikes, to hating our life, hating our job, having emotional stress, all of those things, all of those stressors can lead to leaky gut. Disordered sleeping habits. So when we are not sleeping properly, our body cannot repair itself. We don't make good food decisions the next day when we don't have enough rest. That is really the time that our body repairs. It's when we rest. It's so important to get good sleep. It's still something that I really work on, even though I have like a nighttime routine and all of these things. but really, really, really try to make sleep a priority. It's so important. Another thing that causes leaky gut, low stomach acid. This can be a huge issue. You're not able to break down protein properly. You're not absorbing or you're not creating B vitamins. You are not absorbing other nutrients properly. So this can all lead to that intestinal permeability as well. If we have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, so in the small intestine, the bad guys take over. This is what happens a lot after antibiotics. Gut infections, so viruses, bacteria, parasites, H. pylori, different types of parasites, different bacterial overgrowths, things like that all lead to this, dysbiosis and fungal overgrowth, mold exposure. And that's even a whole other story that can cause so many issues. And then, we have food intolerances and sensitivities, which can cause the leaky gut, but then also make the leaky gut worse or be caused when there is leaky gut. So kind of like the chicken and the egg. I have a gluten sensitivity. I've been gluten-free for a few years now. But did my leaky gut cause the gluten sensitivity, or did my gluten sensitivity cause the leaky gut? I really don't know. I kind of think that I had the gluten sensitivity prior, but, not really sure. So, intestinal hyperpermeability, that's what this is. And then autoimmune conditions also may be the cause or the consequence of this leaky gut. Symptoms of leaky gut. So typical symptoms, right? These are kind of like IBS related symptoms. So oftentimes IBS is kind of I call it a BS. IBS is a BS diagnosis by a doctor who just doesn't know what's going on with you. They don't know really what to tell you. They haven't gotten to the root cause of why you even have IBS. These are symptoms, not really a condition. And people are like, oh, I have IBS. Well, why do you have IBS? Is it parasites? Is it an infection? Do you have food sensitivities? What is the root cause of these type of symptoms? So, leaky gut, gas, bloating, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, those food sensitivities, ulcers, and, IBS symptoms. So these are the most common symptoms with leaky gut, but there are many other symptoms that can occur with leaky gut syndrome that you may not even realize. So these are some of the things that sorry guys, Amazon there, didn't realize my daughter ordered something. I apologize for all the barking. But so anyways, unexpected symptoms of leaky gut here. So mental health issues like anxiety and depression. So there is some very interesting new research on depression and anxiety specifically, and how it is inflammation in the brain. It is not necessarily a chemical imbalance or a serotonin deficiency. So these SSRIs that they prescribe, this is why they don't work for a lot of people. You have to deal with the inflammation. And when there's inflammation in the gut, it all starts in the gut, because that's where, we eat all the time, right? We eat every day. We have to eat every day. So when we have inflammation in the gut, that then spreads throughout the body. And we know that the root of pretty much every chronic disease we're facing right now is inflammation. So it's really not that hard to understand, especially with our gut-brain connection, the vagus nerve, all of those things that, this inflammation also happens in the brain. This is leading to an increased depression, increased anxiety, all the other mental health conditions. They have linked inflammation to schizophrenia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all of these things. So we really need to focus on our gut health when we are struggling with our mental health. Prior to, healing my gut, I was on, antidepressants. I was on anti-anxiety medications. I never liked them. I never felt right on them. And I was going to school for nutrition too. And like, this was just like, I went to a school that was like a medical school. We had a hospital right next to our school where we did our clinical rotations. And, that was just kind of like, we didn't really even learn about gut health. I had to do all my research on gut health, like after I graduated, for the most part, we also deal with frequent illnesses. So if everybody in your house is like constantly passing around bugs, and I get like kids, are more prone to getting sick, but that's good for them because that builds their immune system, up as they age. But if everybody's always sick all the time, there's something going on. We need to work on the gut health because we know that most of the immune system resides in the gut. Brain fog, again, that inflammation. Do you like walk into a room and you're like, what was I doing? What did I come in here for? You just can't remember things. Where did I put my keys? Where's my phone? Like what, like all of those things, brain fog, like huge symptom of gut health issues. Chronic fatigue, you have no energy, you don't feel good, your body's not absorbing the nutrients properly. So you're constantly tired. You're probably not sleeping because you feel like crap. So you have no energy. You can't play with your kids. You can't do, any of this stuff that you should be doing. I mean, like we should have energy. The foods that we put in our body, that's fuel. Like that should get us to be able to, do things. Like we should have energy throughout our day. We shouldn't be, hitting that afternoon slump at like 1 o'clock and wanting to take a nap. So that's a sign that, for one, our blood sugar is unbalanced and we have poor gut health. Then we have the autoimmune conditions, like I mentioned. Unintended weight gain or weight loss. When you just can't lose the weight, there's a lot of inflammation. I have a client that I'm working with right now, and she's down 35 pounds. And she goes, it's crazy. I was carrying around that 35 pounds of inflammation. Like she goes, I truly believe like that's so much of what it was. It was a lot of inflammation that she had. Weight loss. So a lot of celiacs will end up losing a ton of weight because their body's not absorbing things properly. So they might get really, really skinny, and not understand why, even though they're like eating, right? And that's because their body's not absorbing anything. Acne, psoriasis, eczema. So, like my cystic acne, I mean, it was horrible, you guys. Like I had huge cysts that were like painful on my face, on my jawline. And I mean, this occurred for a few years. And I spent probably thousands of dollars on things like Proactive, Rodan and Fields, Curology, like all of these different topicals. The doctor had me on multiple rounds of antibiotics. They had me on these harsh topicals that were horrible for my skin. They wanted to put me on Accutane, and that stuff is horrible. I also used to get eczema. I would get rashes, like especially like behind my legs and like right here where my elbow, on the inside of my elbow. I would get like breakouts like behind my arms. I have that chicken skin, the little white bumps on your arms. That's a sign of gluten intolerance. So all of these things, when the gut is unhealthy, it comes out on the skin. The liver gets overburdened because you got all these toxins floating around in the blood. The liver can't pump this stuff out fast enough. We're already surrounded by so much garbage every day just in our environments, that the liver gets overburdened. So what's our largest organ? Like it all tries to come out in the skin. And I have a friend of mine, and I've been telling him he has psoriasis, and I've been telling him for months and months and months and months, cut out gluten, cut out inflammatory foods, heal your gut, and your psoriasis will go away. He's not ready to do all the other steps and heal, but he has been consistent just in the last like 4 weeks with cutting out gluten from his diet. And I saw him the other day and he's like, look at my elbows. I mean, like he had horrible psoriasis rash here. So like, look at my elbows, look how clear they're getting. Like I told him, I said, okay, now you just got to cut out dairy and sugar and you'll be amazed at your results. He's like, what am I supposed to eat? But it really makes, a difference, but he still has to go through that healing process and he'll see a lot better results. Then we have things like joint pain. When we're in chronic state of inflammation. Our joints hurt, like where it's sore, it's hard to move with all of that inflammation, lead to hormone imbalances, mood swings because we don't feel good. Food cravings. So, you can end up with candida overgrowth. You're craving sugar, you're craving like carbs, you're craving salty, junk food. Again, with the mental health stuff, ADD, ADHD, you're unable to focus, bad breath. Like that's totally like a gut health, thing. So if you're struggling with any of these unexpected, symptoms that you might not even think are related, it all goes back to the gut. So how do we repair it? We have the 5R protocol. So that's remove, replace, reinoculate, repair, and rebalance. So step 1, we want to remove offenders. So these could be foods, medications, parasites, gut infections, bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, toxins, chemicals, stress, alcohol is a big contributor. And caffeine too. So if you're, struggling and you are like a coffee drinker, that can definitely cause some issues. So one of the best and quickest ways to determine what some of your triggers are is using functional lab testing, including like a GI map test and a food allergy sensitivity test. So that GI map test, that's going to tell you, it's going to give you a whole picture of what's going on in your gut. It's going to have those inflammatory markers to show you, I got leaky gut. It's going to show you autoimmune markers. It is going to show you what types of bacteria you have, good and bad, the types and the amounts. It is going to show you if you have any parasites, H. pylori, any other type of gut infection, Epstein-Barr, the different, it is like a full spectrum picture. I love the GI map test because it really gives me a huge idea of what is going on and what is the root cause of this stuff. And then there's food allergy and sensitivity testing. And that way you can just see what foods are triggering you. And this will change over time. So some of the foods that used to trigger me prior to my gut healing protocol, I can do now. But now I also realize there's certain foods that I need to avoid. Gluten being one of those. I try to avoid dairy as much as possible, but I do like cheese. So every once in a while I do cheat with a little dairy, but then I notice right away it comes out on my skin. Testing can be ordered through a doctor or other type of practitioner, like a nutritionist. I can run pretty much any tests that like a functional medicine doctor would run. And I have some other testing options as well. So if you ever have any questions on those, feel free to reach out. So step 2 is we want to replace. And let me say this, because we really want to do this in order, right? If you don't get step 1 done correctly, none of these other steps matter. You've got to figure out the root cause and you've got to remove those things. Because if you just say remove gluten, right, from your diet, but you don't remove the bad bacteria, the yeast overgrowth, all of that stuff, and then you start doing these other steps, you're not gonna be fully healed. So you're gonna be like my friend who he's seeing a little bit of results, but if he goes through this protocol, it's gonna totally change his life. It's gonna be totally different. Like he's gonna have amazing results and that will clear up completely. So step 2, we want to replace the broken digestive mechanism. So oftentimes, a lot of us don't have enough hydrochloric acid, which is our stomach acid, which breaks down the food, right? And when we don't have enough of that, that leaves us open for H. pylori infections. And we also can't properly break down protein. There's just really, we end up with like a lot of indigestion. And I did a video on this prior. You can go check out the guide section on why doctors are full of it when they prescribe you PPIs and H2 acid blockers, because you likely don't have too much stomach acid. 9 out of 10 times you have too little stomach acid, but they make billions of dollars a year on those, heartburn medications. So they sure aren't going to stop that anytime soon. So another thing that you can use, digestive enzymes, those really help you, properly break down your food. I think if you go check out my TikTok, Fresh and Fit Nutrition, on TikTok, I do a little video, a little experiment where I have like a pudding pack and I put a digestive enzyme in there, and like pudding's like pretty thick. And then once you put the digestive enzyme in there and you stir it up, it becomes a liquid. So that's basically like what it's helping your body do. And when we have poor gut health, and even as we age, we don't produce, enough digestive enzymes sometimes. So it can be really beneficial to take those prior to meals to really help you, help support your body break down that food so you can get those nutrients. Things like bile salt. So especially, if you don't have a gallbladder, you're not properly breaking down fat, you really want to make sure that the gallbladder or the liver is supported. You want to replace any nutrients that you're missing, right? If you've had these issues, we want to check your levels of all your nutrients, making sure that you're replenishing your body so that you are set up for optimal health. Things like Swedish bitters prior to meals, so bitter herbs and different things like that, they can stimulate the digestive process. Like if you've ever noticed, like you just like smell food or you see food and like your mouth starts to water, like that's actually like the beginning of our digestive process. So we really want to support that if we need to. So things like Swedish bitters, other bitter herbs before meals can really be beneficial to just help support that digestive process. And then there's vagal nerve toning, and that's really important as well. There's a ton of different ways you can do this. There's little exercises. You can like type that in on YouTube and there's hundreds of videos. One of the things actually is just like humming and singing like the om, like that helps tone your vagal nerve. But basically, like the focus of this step is to normalize digestion and absorption. This is achieved by predominantly addressing the stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and improving that bile flow so your body's properly breaking down those foods. You want to get your gut to work as efficiently as possible in order to benefit from the wholesome food that you're providing it with, right? Because if you're spending extra money on like organic, grass-fed, all these things, and your body's not breaking it down or properly absorbing it, what use is that, right? So next step. Now we want to re-inoculate, okay? So this is important. We don't want to do this before we complete step 1, because if we have SIBO and we throw a probiotic at it, that could make things so much worse. That's why you get really nervous. We get a lot of questions in the group, like, what's the best probiotic? Well, that really depends. Are you taking it just to support your gut health and you're pretty healthy in general? Or do you have some like severe gut health issues and you're hoping that a probiotic is going to fix it? Because that might not be the case. And so a lot of times that can make it a lot worse if you don't get rid of all the bad bugs first. So we really want to focus on removing that stuff. So when we re-inoculate, once we've gotten rid of all the bad stuff, we're now supporting digestion, we're now absorbing nutrients. Now we want to re-inoculate the microbiome. So we do this with prebiotics, probiotics, and fermented foods. Prebiotics are things like fiber that the probiotics eat and live off of. So we really want to support our happy little healthy gut bugs, keep them happy, keep them fed, so that they can thrive and get rid of any bad guys that may come our way. So the focus of this step is to normalize that balance of the GI bacteria. This is achieved by ensuring there are sufficient fiber and fermented foods in the diet. Fiber is incredibly important, especially when considering its role in supporting the balance of good bacteria in the gut. Fiber, especially the non-digestible fiber, gets fermented in the colon to form short chain fatty acids, and those help to maintain the gut mucosal barrier and prevent leaky gut. Sorry, I couldn't see the rest of my notes there. So that's another thing though, like adding more fiber to your diet if you're struggling already with like gut health issues. Like it totally depends on your situation. That's why you have to get to the root cause, because if you all of a sudden just start adding more fiber and you already have this bacterial overgrowth, like you're just going to fuel the fire. You're just pouring gasoline on the fire and you're going to feel horrible and you're going to be like, this made it worse. I'm not eating vegetables anymore. So you really have to figure out, what your root cause is, and then follow these steps properly before you start increasing fiber, before you add all these, good bugs back into your diet, because they will just go to war and you're not going to feel good. So next step is repair. This is really important. We want to repair the gut lining. So L-glutamine is one of my favorite things to do that. That is an amino acid. It basically helps, bring those tight junctions back together. I like to do it in powder form. I feel like it's more absorbable that way. And I still take that on a daily basis because you know why? We're exposed to a lot of stuff. I still have stress, there's still chemicals all around me too. So I want to do what I can to keep my gut, healthy. So, taking that every day is just something that's still part of my, routine. Collagen is really beneficial for the gut lining. And we have to remember, you guys, so like our gut lining, it is just like one cell layer thick. So it does not take much to like get out of whack, right? So we really, really have to like focus on supporting our gut health. Next thing is bone broth. Bone broth helps, just like the glutamine and the collagen do. It helps like seal that gut, seal and heal. So including bone broth, lots of bone broth in your diet, whether that's drinking it, whether that's, consuming a lot of soups with bone broth, really important. Some other things that can help, aloe vera, that can be very soothing too. That can really help the lining. We have DGL licorice, marshmallow root, slippery elm. Those are all like let me say the word right, mucinogenic. So it basically like forms a mucus layer on that gut lining so that everything just slides through. So really protective there. Zinc is another good one. Berberine is also very beneficial, not only for blood sugar balance, but healing that gut lining as well. So this step is really focused on providing support for the lining of the gut in order for it to repair itself. This is a vital step in restoring your health. If we don't do this, like it doesn't, nothing else, matters. We really have to repair that up and reseal that gut. Reversing leaky gut can help reverse your symptoms and reduce your risk for, developing autoimmune disease, and other things like that, the mental health issues as well. So many people, come to see me after attempting this stage, right? They use bone broth and glutamine, but it didn't work. And that's because they skipped the other steps, right? So it's really important to follow these and to do them properly so that you can actually heal, because otherwise you're just dragging this process out longer. And this process for some people, this can take a year, depending on how bad you're at, right? It can take as little as a few months, take a year, maybe more. Depends on how consistent you are, what you got going on, and your removal of those other factors in the first step. So it's vital to work through each of these stages with the guidance of a practitioner. This ensures that your work is done, and that this is not going to be a temporary fix. You might like experience some relief temporarily and then go right back to where you were and be wondering why. And that's because we missed a step here. Last step. So now we're good, right? We have gotten rid of all the bad stuff. We have supported our digestion and we're absorbing nutrients now. We have re-inoculated. So we got lots of good guys in our gut. We've repaired our gut lining so it's sealed. Now we have to rebalance our lifestyle. So that is with the diet. So that's maintaining a healthy diet that is going to help support your gut. That's exercise and movement, making sure that we're moving our body enough every day, making sure, and this has so many other health benefits, but it's still it's helpful for our gut, right? Making sure that we're sleeping so that our body can repair properly, making sure that we are avoiding stress, or at least have healthy ways to manage stress. That is important. And then we want to avoid any triggers. So like for me, I know I can't have gluten anymore. Like that's just is what it is. It's out of my diet forever. Like, because I know if I eat it, I'm going to feel horrible. So it does kind of suck sometimes if you know, like there's certain foods that you might miss, but you're going to find alternatives and you're going to realize that it's worth cutting those foods out because you feel better. So, you know, I could do away with gluten forever and I have no problem with that because I know how bad it made me feel. I know, you know, the reactions that my body had to it. So, you know, we want to continue to avoid anything that's going to trigger us and our symptoms. So, you know, this last step really focused on the lifestyle choices, sleep, stress, exercise, and how they impact the gut. Like I said, sleep is a time when the body can recharge and heal at the end of the day. Rebalancing your lifestyle is crucial for the continued maintenance of your restored healthy gut. You know, sleep, exercise, diet, emotional states, and stress all impact this digestive function. So, got those 5 steps. I hope guys took notes. You can always watch the replay. I do have this here for you. I'm gonna put this, I'll put this link in the comments for you, and I have a little healthy gut guide. It kind of like goes over all of this. It has a lot more information as well, but I will put this in the comments for you guys. And then you know, you can follow me in the group. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, my page, Fresh and Fit Nutrition, and TikTok at Fresh and Fit Nutrition as well. So I'm gonna stop share and I'm gonna escape out of that, and then I'm gonna go over here to see what questions you guys have. Okay. All right, let me go back up here. Let me scroll through all of this. Hey, Roxanne. Hey, Kima. All right. So, Sunshine, how do you know if you have leaky gut? So, if you're experiencing some of those symptoms that I talked about, there's a high likelihood that you have leaky gut. But the way we test for it, so that GI map test, that measures zonulin, which is an inflammatory marker. So when you have high levels of zonulin, you know there's a lot of inflammation in the gut, and that inflammation is leaky gut. So that would be the clinical way that we would test for that. Yeah, Kima, I have all of these damn symptoms. Yeah, you know, a lot of people do. Like I said, it's about 80% of the population in the Western world that actually like struggles with leaky gut. It's very common, and it leads, I mean, look, like so many people are sick, right? We don't eat healthy, we don't manage our stress properly, we're not getting enough movement in our days. Like these are all things that, you know, causes, we're constantly bombarded by chemicals and toxins and all of these things, you know, in our household products, in our personal care products, outside, you know, pesticides, all of those things. Okay, so Sunshine says, if you have brain fog, mood swings, how do you know it's leaky gut and not from age-related menopausal hormone imbalance? Well, honestly, it could be both. But chances are you probably have some gut health issues, especially if your hormones are out of whack. You know, it really leads to a whole cascade of issues. You know, and I know as like us women, you know, as we age, our hormones get out of whack, and that is kind of part of our aging process, but it really should be a smooth transition. It does not have to be as difficult as it is for a lot of women, and that's because we're not healthy to begin with when we start those stages. Kima, wow, this all makes so much sense. I think I have so much that needs to come out. Yeah. You know, likely there could be a lot of different, you know, factors. I find parasites in people. I find mold in people. A lot of people have candida overgrowth. Hey, Kiva, you're here. Hope you enjoyed that. Oh, Kima, yeah, I know we've talked before. You know, if you want to get the test and you want help from me, you know, like let's get on it, girl. I know that you've struggled with some other things, but you know, let's get you healthy. Let's get your body repaired. So reach out. You know, we've been in contact before. Kristen, proper hydration helps. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's really important to stay hydrated for everything, right? Like our body is a lot of water. We definitely need to make sure that we are, you know, staying properly hydrated. Kima, what about organic lemon water? Yeah, so, I drink water, lemon water all the time. It's good for digestion, gives you a little vitamin C. It can definitely be beneficial, but it's not going to be a cure all for like gut health issues. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with drinking, organic lemon water. I've done that for years. Yeah, Kristen, people will pay $1,200 for a new iPhone, but not on their health. Absolutely. And we have to realize, like, we have to start prioritizing ourselves, you guys. Like this is so important. Look at everybody. Like, people don't have a good quality of life anymore. Like, people are aging younger and younger. It's more expensive because they're on multiple medications. They feel like crap. Like, it's like, oh, you're 65 and like it's normal to like be unhealthy and be on 12 prescriptions and but cool, like I got an iPhone, I got this nice car, like, and if we think about it, right, like we put a lot of money into our homes, we put a lot of money into our cars, but then when it comes to us and our health, we're like, oh, that's a little expensive, like, and we're the most important thing, like we only have one body to live in forever. So really like focusing on our health, and that's going to make us show up better in every area of our lives. Like, that's going to make us a better parent, that's going to make us a better worker, we're going to be more productive, we're going to have more energy, we're going to feel better, we're going to get to do things that we enjoy. Like, if we just invest in ourselves and our health first, so many things will benefit in our lives. Like, you're going to have the energy that you need to maybe go get that promotion, or have the energy and the focus and the clarity and just like feel better to go find a new job and to have a different experience. Like, these things all play a role. And by the way, like, digestive disorders are the #2 reason that people miss work in the US, and it's responsible for like billions of dollars in lost productivity every year to companies. Let's see what else. Oh, you are welcome, Kelly. You're welcome, Sylvie. You're welcome, Tracy. Sunshine, does insurance cover? So with me, no, I cannot take insurance. Everything is out of pocket with me, but you can find some functional medicine doctors. Unfortunately, it's just the way the system is. Like, insurance doesn't want us to get healthy. It's all big pharma. It's all like, so they don't usually cover the good types of tests that are going to give you the right answers. So like a full thyroid panel, the GI map test, a lot of times insurance won't cover that. Sometimes you can find a functional medicine doctor that does take insurance, but most of the time, unfortunately, to get good quality help, to actually heal your body, it's an expense. It's an out-of-pocket expense. I do know that some clients I worked with in the past, they have like the HSA, so like the health savings account. And if I just like put on their invoice, like food allergy testing, they can submit that and somehow they get reimbursed. I'm really not sure how that works. But I do know that I've had several clients that have been able to get reimbursement through that. So I hope that answers your questions. This was great. I hope this was helpful, you guys. If you have any questions, if you want to know more about testing, feel free to message me on Messenger. You can comment here below, anything like that. Oh, I'm going to get you guys that link real quick to download that guide. Let me just copy and paste this real quick. So if you want that healthy gut guide, that's that. And that's got like foods. It talks about the 5-hour protocol. Talks about like different foods to support gut. I go like more into depth about the supplements and things like that, but really it needs to be customized to you. So I have a program that I have for my clients, but it's all the nutrition and the supplement recommendations. Those are personalized to the individual based on their specific needs. Kima. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. You are so welcome. Yeah, let's talk again, Kima, because I know we discussed this a while back and I know how life gets crazy for everybody, but I want to help you. I definitely want to help you. Very helpful, Annette. Okay, great. Yeah, Annette, like reach out for sure. Melody, how much is the GI test? So that one is about $490. And basically I order that and it gets drop shipped to your house. You follow the instructions. It's a stool sample. So there's a little kit that you collect that with, and then you send it off to the lab, and within about 4 weeks, they do have that results. Now, I talked to the Great Plains Laboratory about 6 weeks ago, and they said that price is going up. They did not tell me by how much, and they did not tell me when, but they said that that is going to go up soon. I guess everybody's blaming everything still on COVID. They're having a hard time, you know, hiring and getting transport for the testing. And then there's certain chemicals, I guess, that they use, that they're now having a hard time with this whole war thing in Europe going on. So yeah, right now though, that's $490 just for the test. So I hope that helps. And if you guys have any more questions, you know, like I said, feel free to message me. I really hope this was helpful. I know like how bad it sucks to suffer from this, like, and nobody should be suffering like this. Like, these are some easy fixes. And yeah, it can be an investment, right? But like, you're totally worth it. So let's get you healthy. You know, we want to have energy to play with our kids. We want to be able to do things we enjoy. I mean, I remember like not wanting to go on vacation because I wasn't going to be near a bathroom. I was worried about what I could eat. I mean, I've like gone on a date and been like, oh my gosh, like, what can I eat that's not, I didn't want to order a salad because, you know, then I didn't want the guy thinking, oh, she's like eating a salad because she's on a date. And I'm like, no, I just like, I don't know what to eat that's not gonna like, you know, give me horrible issues. Like, yes, inflation is creating inflammation. Yeah, the stress of that. Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely is. So I'm going to let you all go. I hope that was super helpful, and yeah, reach out to me with any questions, you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and we will chat soon. Bye.